Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and now that the 2015 Reese's Senior Bowl is complete, let's take a look back at this week's practice to see who stood out on both the North squad as well as the South squad.
Now let's take a look at the guys at the skill positions that stood out this week, starting with quarterback Garrett Grayson of Colorado State. Now Grayson came into Mobile a very accomplished quarterback with a lot of production, and he didn't embarrass himself this week, and I thought he threw the football well on the run and also threw with decisiveness in 7-on-7s. Two talented tailbacks in Amir Abdullah out of Nebraska and David Johnson from Northern Iowa, and Abdullah's vision, acceleration, and agility was on full display all week long, and Johnson was the best receiver here coming from the backfield. Now out on the flanks, Washington State's Vince Mail put together a very good week of work here in front of the scouts, consistently flashing some Brandon Marshall-like ability inside and out, while Desmond Lewis from Central Arkansas was showing polish as a route runner, routinely making contested catches and laying out for passes. He definitely stood out on the biggest stage this week. And tight end Clive Walford out of Miami, his energy and playmaking skills was a joy to see. You can tell he's someone that thoroughly enjoys the game, and I think he'll have a bright future as a pro because of what he brings to the table as a receiving threat from the tight end position. Looking at the offensive line standouts, starting from left to right, Wisconsin's tackle Rob Havenstein was excellent in one-on-ones, excelling at both tackle spots, and offensive lineman Ali Marpet out of Division III Hobart came in as a left tackle and played everywhere up front and doing a damn good job at each one all week long. He definitely made himself some money this week in Mobile. Reese Dismukes out of Auburn is a technically sound player that'll be an ideal center in a zone blocking scheme. He must get stronger, but I thought he did exceptionally well in team drills as opposed to one-on-ones. Ari Kwanjo was impressive all week as well, showing very good reset and redirect skills and also a mean streak, and that's what you like to see from your interior offensive lineman. Lael Collins out of LSU played both left tackle and left guard extremely well. He made that smooth transition inside on Wednesday and looks as if that'll be his home as a pro, but he definitely gives an NFL team that flexibility up front. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, starting up front, in Mississippi State's Preston Smith, in my opinion, had a tremendous week, and he was the best defensive end at practice all week long, and I like what he did from a technical standpoint against the run. Defensive tackle Danny Shelton out of Washington's initial punch is a deadly one. He's able to shock and control to get where he wants to go, and I thought he showed a great push-pull-rip move consistently in one-on-ones. I spoke about Houston's Joey Mabu earlier in the week as a guy to keep an eye on, and he didn't disappoint. I think Mabu has the skills to play multiple positions up front. And Marcus Golden out of Missouri had a solid week of work. He's the type of guy that you'll see flip-flop in between fronts and still have the same type of success. At linebacker, there were a good bit of versatile guys here, but these three stood out the most in my opinion. Hauli Kikaha flip-flopped in between outside linebacker and defensive end edge rusher and was consistently disruptive while showing a good bit of athleticism. And I'm a big fan of Stephon Anthony's game. I think the biggest skill he showed this week was in the pass defense department while also showing fluidity in his hips. Bearcat backer Jeff Luck had an impactful week in 907 team drills as well as in blitz pickup. We know he can play in space coming out of the AAC, but we got to see the in-the-box game from him, and he performed exceptionally well. I have to preface this portion by saying on both squads, this year's group of defensive backs were outstanding, but these four, in my opinion, are the ones that stood out and had big weeks. Once again, Josh Shaw out of USC was the best cornerback in attendance as he was last week at the East-West Shrine game, and I think he's going to jump back into that early round discussion because he's that talented. Northwestern State's Imoan Claiborne consistently stood out each and every day with his press skills, his instincts, and his ball skills. He's the next corner coming out of the Southland Conference that's going to excel as a pro. Safety Jaquiski Tart out of Sanford showed good ability in the slot and in man versus tight ends, and I think he solidified himself this week as the top small college safety in this year's draft. Adrian Amos out of Penn State has a complete understanding of the intermediate passing game, and I think he'll excel as a combo guy at the next level. Kicker Justin Manton out of UL Monroe has great range and accuracy, and this was by far the best kicker here in attendance in Mobile. Great week for him. Now here's a few guys that have made some money this week with their performances in the practices, starting with Stanford's Ty Montgomery, who showed a variety of receiver traits from a release standpoint that shows you he gets the receiver position and in my opinion will have a long productive career as one. He now has become underrated, but I think he'll end up being the biggest steal in the draft. Lyndon Trail out of Norfolk State will probably be an outside linebacker as a pro, but he's so athletic that you see him playing multiple positions and being just fine. He has a lot of Manny Lawson to his game, and I like what I saw this week from him. Quietly, Ole Miss's Sinquez Golson and Miami's Ladarius Gunther made themselves a good bit of change this week. Don't sleep on Golson's height as he plays big. And finally, Sammy Coates, the wide receiver out of Auburn, is another like Clive Walford, who made himself some money this week. Coates' route running was solid. He consistently made catches with his hands away from his body. He had a very solid week.